Welcome to Soul Conversations with Sandra the Podcast. Thank you for joining us. As I attune myself to the creative impulses that indwell in me and seek to express through me, I present Aimee and Dan from from Sacred Streams. And they are waving at me, I am waving at them now. And I am, as usual, going to invite them in. Hold on just a second. Peter, welcome. Thank you for joining us. And it looks like it might take a minute. Here we come.
Hello.
Hello, Dan. Hello, Aimee.
How are you?
For joining me. I will have to say, you are the first couple that is on live with Soul Awakening. Yeah.
Oh, amazing.
Well, it's an honor to be here.
It is, thank you.
It's an honor to be the first couple.
Yes. So we're going to get started. I thank you very much for joining me. Aimee, we have talked.
Yeah.
And your journey has inspired me. And I don't even know where to begin with that, because I'm already getting my spirit bumps on me that you and Dan have really been through some things. And I would suggest anything that you feel uncomfortable about talking about, refrain, because my podcast, I also put it on my Spotify and my iTunes. So you will go public at some point. You already are with your page. So and anyone asking them questions, refrain. If you use part of your persona that you don't want out there, please refrain, because I have to post this anyway. All right. So just let me know if I ask any questions that are too private. Just say decline to answer and move on. All right.
Amazing.
We are pretty open.
Yeah, we are. But thank you so much for honoring that.
So basically, what I've seen, you are encouraging people to move towards their freedom, to be, not only in their health, but also in their profession, their personal lives. You are very, very passionate about it, and you love each other desperately on your videos. It just comes through. It's so I don't know how to, there's no words that really describe the feeling that you guys present. So
thank you.
With that, where do you want to start? That's my first question. Where do you want to start?
Where do we want to start?
That's a good question. Where do you want us to begin? That's a better question.
Okay. Well, this is called, my page is called Soul Awakening with Sandra. So it's about the awakening experience. It's about waking up to what you thought was life, and now you're finding different. So my question is, where can we begin with that? Is it a collective thing, a you and me thing, or is it something that you guys experienced separately and then came together? Is that a good?
Yeah,
that's
I think it's a good way of putting it, because I feel like we have experienced our awakening in a slightly different time frames. Like for me, it began a bit earlier than for Aimee, and I was fortunate enough to be able to guide her on her journey now, where she would not repeat my mistakes, And
Not walking in somebody else's, I've done it already for you, kind of thing.
Kind of.
So,
yeah.
Well, would each of you like to take that, or I've got it better, your spiritual journey as much as you can up until you intersect it with Aimee's. Can we begin that way?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I can begin. So, my journey, it's weird to even talk about it, because my awakening it's been quite a rough one. It's almost, how to describe it, it was like a spiritual boot camp. It was very forced. I was not ready for it, but I think if it wasn't like I wouldn't be the person I am right now. So, where do I begin? I want to see how far I'll go with it. Basically, it all began like I was actually back in the day. I was working as a chef. I was working in the kitchen. I was working long hours, stuck in a metal box. So there was not much connection, no artificial lights everywhere. So it was quite a weird time. I had this feeling come to me one time that I feel like there is more to that than just being in the kitchen. There is going to a job. I just felt like everything started to like there began to be like little cracks in my existence. I started to see like things just were so unordinary. I don't know how to describe it. It was like I just started to see not even the truth, but I started to get the calling towards the things I never had a calling before. And one of the things was a calling to psychedelics. Back then, I was quite a party boy. I used to go partying all the time. I used to drink all the time. Basically, just a lot of negative, low frequency kind of stuff I used to get up to. And I also dabbled a little bit in psychedelics, like psychedelic substances, but I always dabbled in it in a way that it was all for recreational. It was like to be taken as a party enhancement drug rather than a drug, well, not a drug, rather than a healing substance.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, out of nowhere came this inner calling to research more into psychedelics. And you just out of nowhere, I had this urge, just came over like, you need to start researching about psychedelics. You need to just find out whatever information you need and have this calling that you need to have an experience yourself. And I resisted that for a long time, and until I started doing a lot of research and I started diving into the stuff like ayahuasca, LSD, and mushrooms, and all the natural substances that are out there to enhance people's experience, enhance people's view. Hello, everybody. Hello. I'm getting a bit of.
So I'm just waving at people as they come in.
Hello, people. So,
Welcome.
Welcome. I'm gonna jump a little bit forward. So I've done a lot of research. It's been like a year of me doing a lot of research, of watching a lot of YouTube videos of like people's experiences and how they're having this crazy and vivid experiences. Yes, exactly. Plant medicine is definitely the gateway, which I found out much later. So I'm gonna skip it a little bit forward, like a year forward.
Can I ask you one thing before you skip it?
Yeah.
Did you find that in doing the research, did that open up the information of because we all have a definition of our spiritual awakening. For me, it was moving from religious to a more relationship with the divine creator. Did that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's actually a good point. That's actually a good point that you said, because like back then, I could almost call myself like an atheist, but not to the point where I completely rejected everything. I believe I just saw like because my awakening actually like first when it began is where I started looking into like all the conspiracy theories first to become on like a superficial level, like a 3D level. And then I just realized how a lot of religions are just a big control tool in a way. There's truth to every religion. I'm not bashing any religions, but also on a grand scheme of things, it's been used to control masses.
Right.
And this is how I began. This is why I didn't want to associate myself with any certain religion. So this is why I would almost call myself an atheist, but I never like voiced it publicly or anything. And yeah, and this is where it comes back to that point where after researching into all of that, I'm realizing that there is definitely an energy that has created all this. There is definitely something bigger than us, something more than we can possibly understand. And this is where, like, all these tiny little glimpses, that tiny little dots putting together, that will lead me to that point. And this is where I decided to actually do my first, like, a heavy experience on psychedelic substances. I'm not going to disclose too much what it was, but it was very eye-opening. So I'm going to go to the day where it happened. It was me and my friend. We decided to do it together for some reason. And this kind of dose of what I had, it was much more than I would usually have. So just to take you to that next level. And this is where I totally wasn't ready for it. So I've taken it and I'm there meditating. I'm having a good time. And all of a sudden, like, usually it takes half an hour to an hour for things to start kicking in. But genuinely, like, after 5-10 minutes, I'm already feeling it. And I'm like, okay, this is not usual. And things start getting very intense. Like, it's very hard to describe. Things started moving, everything started breathing on me. I started feeling a bit like claustrophobic. And this is where I started to panic. And panic kind of set off like a sequence of events, if I put it this way. It set off. One of the things is, I thought it was very hot. I was sweating and I was like, oh my God, I'm so hot. I'm just drinking this water. I feel like I'm dehydrating, but I wasn't dehydrated at all. I'm drinking this water, I'm pacing around, and then I'm like, oh my God, what have I done? I've done a mistake. I should not have done that.
I've done a whoopsie.
Yeah, I've done a whoopsie. And this is what keeps going over and over in my head. I'm like, and all I hear is like, and this is where it gets so intense to the point where I'm like, where am I? What have I taken? What have I done? And like, I'm just keep asking these questions and like grasping to the last bit of reality that is around me. And I keep saying to myself, what have I done? Where am I? What have I taken? And this is where I realized I'm dying. And this is where I realized I was actually dying. So I was having such a hard time. Oh my God, I'm dying. What do I do? I'm about to die. And this is where I sit down on the sofa and like my body fully relaxes. Like I can hardly move my body because I'm in such a state. And my friend was sitting next to me. He didn't take as much as me that time. So he was on a completely different level than I am. And this is where I said to him, this is how we're going to die, isn't it? And he was like, no, what do you mean this is how we're going to die? This is not how we're going to die. And this is where I sat there for quite a minute. I was having so many things come to me, like, I haven't said goodbye to my mom. I haven't said goodbye to these people. Like, I was grasping to the last bit of reality. And this is where I just fully let go of everything. And I decided that I'm going to accept death. And the second I accepted the death, I felt like I was literally like floating like above my body at that point. And all of a sudden I feel like I'm slowly going back into my body. And like all of a sudden I can feel the sofa. I can feel where I am. I'm like, oh my God, it was all okay. I'm not going to die. But this is where this is where I pretty much landed in like a different dimension. This is where I was welcomed, and it basically almost felt like when I accepted my own death, it's almost like I went through this dimension where I was inspected to see who I am, to see what sort of person I am, what sort of soul it felt like you've been seen all the way through. Like, I don't know if it was entities, I don't know if I was completely out of my mind, but there's so many things happen. I was shown how, one of the first things that was shown to me is how from day one when I was born, how I got to that point, how every single piece of like my actions that I've taken, the places I've been to, the little bits that I thought I've forgotten, how it all led me to this point to take this psychedelic substance and to wake up. And the thing is, it's like it was always done in a way that I've been mocked. It's like, oh yeah, we could have told you this long time ago, but you had to find out your way. We could have told you already all this before, But no, you had to do you have to go through all the hardships, you have to go through all the bits yourself to get to that point. And I'm there crying, I'm laughing at the same time. It felt like brotherly, sisterly, like it felt like my own family was there, but like on a different level. It's not like your 3D family that you have here. I just felt like brotherly love, like when you come to me, he like gives you a little bit kicks, like it's okay, don't worry, you've done this, this, and this, it's okay, but you're here now, and that's all that matters. And it was the most incredible experience. Like I felt every person on the planet dying and being reborn at the same time. I felt the birth and the death of every single person. I felt the electricity. I was with one. I felt the electricity go through everything. I felt every car on the planet. It's just like, it was the weirdest experience. I felt everything at the same time. It's very hard to describe it. But did you want to say something?
No, no. I'm just like vibrating all over. You felt oneness all at the same time.
Yes.
Right?
It was absolutely insane. It's the weirdest feeling.
Wow. I mean, I've got spirit bumps.
Yeah, me too. Me too. And it's like, it's not been a day. It's not been a day since I don't think a little bit about when this happened, maybe in my early 20s, maybe when I was like 21, so about 7 to 8 years ago. And pretty much every single day, something in the day brings me back to the point, and I'm still learning something from that massive experience what happened. And long story short, what happened after? I thought I was going insane when it all went off. I've been to a different dimension. I've seen beings. I had operation done on me. I've done like negative energy. I've had wrath come out of me. I had all my chakras cleaned out. So I basically had the most forced awakening you could ever happen to a person. And that really drains a person, what I realized. So when everything started wearing off, and then here's me sitting fully naked, I've taken everything off myself, and I'm just sitting there, and I've realized I've fully trashed my flat. I've broken my TV because there's things that shown to me how like TV is just the root of all evil, how you get brainwashed by stuff like this. And like I just destroyed my new TV. I didn't need it anymore. And I just sat there. And this is when the rational, logical brain started kicking back in, when it started wearing down. I'm sitting there, I'm like, oh my God, what just happened? And it's been like, and by then it's been like a good 6 to 7 hours of me going through this experience. And this is where, once it wears off, it's like, did I just go crazy, or did I actually experience it? And this is where my ego decided to tell me that I did go crazy. And this is where, after this experience, I went into quite like a deep, almost very deep depression of me realizing, that's it. That was my last straw. I finally lost it. And it took me like long time to recover over this forced awakening. And this is where actually what happened to me after that, my experience. Straight away next day, I was working as a chef, like full time, quite a hardcore job. And then all of a sudden I came in one day and I said, I can't eat meat. And I'm still working in the kitchen. And just all of a sudden overnight, I'm like, I can't eat meat. And this is where it's almost like my life been guided by this entity that kind of you almost felt like my own body was just kind of on autopilot. I was kind of doing things that I felt like I needed to do. And one of the things was I straight away stopped eating meat. And then I've never fasted in my life. And all of a sudden it's like, you need to fast one day and then eat one day, then fast one day. And I would do this for like a whole month. Just one day fasting, one day eating, one day fasting, one day eating, and just vegetables and like really good diet. And and this is where I started getting into meditation. I never done meditation before then, and this is where I started really, really getting into meditation and stuff like that. And one time after like a good fast, like I was so energetic and I was so clean that my frequency was in such a different level to where it used to be before. And this is where I realized that I can get into similar state through just meditation. And this is where, and once I got there, and I'm like, oh, they just reminded me, no, remember, no, you have not gone crazy. All this what you've done, it was an actual experience, and I'm like, oh my God, thank you, thank you.
Yeah.
And this is where it started going uphill from then, and then it was the most. I don't even have the words for it now. I'm trying to remember everything.
All I know is my spirit gave me the bumps. That's all I need to know, is that there's the word right there for me. It's like, wow. And that higher being gave you the process by where to understand that, no, you're not going crazy. That, you know, there and a whole lot of there are many different ways that many people get to where you are, you know. And as you were getting there, now did you and Aimee meet, and then she went, and I'll ask Aimee this, and then you went through your awakening and he was already there to help you through that, right? That's what you guys said, right?
Yeah, so actually before I met Dan, we met one time many years ago through friends of friends at a house party when we were really young. But since that time, we both moved to a different hometown and went on our own journeys. And yeah, my story's kind of similar to Dan, but with a different like catalyst for my awakening. But it was quite similar. So at that point in my life before my awakening, I was just really chaotic. I worked an hour away from home. I'd wake up at 5 a.m. I'd go to the gym, drive an hour to where I worked, go to the gym, go to work in an office with no windows. And I was living this like, just routine, in the same sort of routine every single day. And I think after many years of doing that, although I just knew something with that wasn't quite right, like what Dan said, like I kind of was starting to wake up to a little bit, but just ignored it because, you know, it paid the bills and etc. etc. You stay in the cycle of doing the thing. And my awakening actually happened when I had a massive car crash. So yeah, similarly to Dan had a bit of an ego death, but I also looked death right in the eyes. I was driving home so I went to work all day, went to see a friend after work, and I was driving home late at night, about 10 p.m. And it was really, really dark on country lanes. And at the time I was actually on the phone to my friend through the speakers, and you know, I felt safe driving. I was just driving home, going to go to bed. You know, that was just a normal day. And all of a sudden, a van comes towards me. So I'm approaching a bend, and there's cars on the other side of the road, so coming towards me. But a van's trying to overtake 5 cars on this bend. So he didn't make the overtake, and he was going very, very, very fast. And it was a big van against my small little car. And as soon as I saw the headlights of the van come towards me, like I'm literally having visions right now. Whoa, I'm not a very visual person, but I can literally see the headlights right now. Okay. When I saw the headlights come towards me, I, in that second, accepted my death. Like, literally, I just saw the headlights and said, goodbye, like, goodbye, life. Like, that was the initial thought. But literally, it was like a millisecond. Have a head-on collision with this van, and my whole world was flipped upside down in that instant. I mean, I can't even explain the sheer power. It was about 140 miles per hour. I don't know what that is in kilometers, but exceptionally fast. Like the doctors and the people at the hospital said, it's an absolute miracle. Like, you are so protected. It's a miracle that you are alive from this. Like, the whole car caved in on me, and the fire brigade actually had to cut the car around me to get me out of it. There was no way I could physically get out of it because the car was just like crumbled into me. So I was stuck in the car for, like 3-4 hours, I think, until they managed to cut me out. And at that time, I felt extremely trapped, kind of similar to Dan as well, like feeling trapped but in his own body in a way with your awakening.
So we both had very much a similar awakening to where we got to the point where we accepted death, both of us.
Yeah.
And this is where, once you accept death, this whole body as you know it, you realize that this is just temporary.
Yeah. And it opens, just a big doorway. So my car crash happened, and I went through a massive process. I broke my kneecap, had severe PTSD, anxiety, went through a lot of therapy and physiotherapy, had to have multiple operations on my kneecap to help it regenerate. And sort of went through this process. And before this car crash, like I say, I was living a very busy life. I was always doing. I barely spent any time by myself. I really never got to know myself. And I honestly feel like my car crash happened, like God, universe was like, right, okay, we need to put you in bed by yourself for many, many months. Right. So you can find yourself, you can reevaluate your life, because at that point I clearly wasn't quite on my life path yet. So I can now reflect back at my car crash and know that has actually happened for my better good. At the time it was extremely traumatic and painful. And extremely life-changing, but for the better good. It's honestly changed my life so magically. It's just beautiful. But I had my car crash, and I don't know the time, I can't really work out the time from my car crash and when this experience happened. But one time I was stood in a fish and chip shop waiting to get my chips. And at this point I didn't have much like belief as such. I again would call myself an atheist. I just was very much had my blinders on and just going about my daily life. I can't remember if this was actually before or after my accident. My timeline's a bit, I think it might be the trauma. It's just a bit like my brain can't really work out the dates. But I think it's after. And I'm stood in this fish and chip shop waiting for my chips, and there's this wall next to me that has loads of business cards, like little business cards of local people, and the sun just beams in so brightly onto this one business card. And I was like, I kind of looked at it and just kind of ignored it, and I was like, oh well. And then the sun just
like
goes,
a movie scenario.
It literally is.
Love it.
And then the sun just keeps beaming in, just so bright, and it was just going onto this one business card. And I kind of looked at it, and it said psychic medium, like this lady's name, psychic medium, like angel card reading and tarot reading. And I was like, okay. I didn't have a clue really what that was, hadn't really ever heard of it before. But I was like, is this a sign?
Yeah.
I was like, maybe this is a sign.
Right.
So I just trusted my inner guidance and messaged this lady. I go and visit her within a week and have a session booked with her. And she reads my tarot cards and angel cards, and she literally explains every single detail about my childhood, which was so in depth, like even conversations I had had with people that no one would really know about. So like this was so detailed. I 100% knew that there was like, she was getting this information,
Right.
And she even disclosed a lot about my accident, my car crash. Oh, so it must have been after, it must have been after my car crash, this then. So this was like the second part of the awakening. And so she just tells me everything about my life in such a detailed way. And I was just there like, whoa, it's like my third eye just like opened, like, oh my gosh, there's so much more than I have ever thought about. I just thought I'm Aimee, this person who just works my job, does the same thing day in, day out. And then this lady here is presenting me with all this truth about my own life to such detail. Like, it was just amazing. Right. And as soon as I left her front door, I literally opened her front door, and it was like I was in this whole other dimension
I feel you.
of love, of unconditional joy, just beauty. It was like I could see like rainbows and like just, it was just like a whole other world. My eyes had just been finally open to the, you know, before life felt so heavy and just like mundane, but then all of a sudden I opened this door and it was just like magical. It was like I was in heaven.
Right.
And this lasted for a little while, and that's when we met. And
Did we not?
a bit after that.
Did we meet after that, or were we already like kind of chatting? Because I feel like I remember you going to the psychics, and maybe then.
Oh, maybe. So maybe it wasn't too.
Because I remember in the beginning when we used to just talk, Aimee used to almost get a little bit scared of me because I used to just. Because I realized that I can be quite open with her, and I was telling her about like astral projecting and how I can get my consciousness out of my body, how I meet demons and all stuff like this. And she was like, "This guy's nuts." And she totally thought I was crazy in the beginning.
Definitely.
Yeah. And this is where I think just later on, I feel like you then went to the psychic maybe.
Yeah, I don't know about the timeline, but I remember I went to so I had my car crash, literally looked death in the eyes, accepted my death, went to see this lady, and then boom, it was like my whole awakening was just like, whoa. And I started just changing my life rapidly, met Dan, we started changing our life rapidly together, and he was really helping me through the trauma and just really the inner child work, the traumas from the childhood. And you know, without Dan, I genuinely think I would probably think I'm insane.
Yeah.
Like having someone here to help guide me and just to remind me that I'm not going crazy. Like this is a genuine process of like ascension and awakening. This is something that's that you're going through, that we've both gone through, but individually, and now can support each other.
Because I feel like I was already about 3 years into it.
Yeah.
So I've kind of already acclimated a little bit.
I think it was 4 years.
I think maybe 3 or 4 years I was already into it. So this is where I went through all my hardship, where I felt so disconnected. I could not connect with anybody because it just, when I went outside after this, like I could just see everything, how beautiful everything was. But like when you see people, you just see like, oh my God, I'm the only one who knows it. I felt like I found out the secret, you know? I felt like I found out something that nobody knows about, and I'm like, oh my God, I'm the only one, I'm the chosen.
Only. And nobody gets it but me, and why is it only me?
No.
Right.
Yeah.
I know, and how you see like everybody just walking around, everybody kind of just confused and lost, and everybody just kind of aimlessly just going to work, doing this. Everybody's so disconnected, and you start noticing it so much more when you go through this. And so, so I went through like nearly 3 years of going up and down, up and down, up and down. So this was, I feel like it was quite refreshing. When I met Aimee, she was at the point where I was 3 years ago. And it was so nice. Like she was literally like step by step going through the same process I was going in. It was so refreshing that I was able to like help her and guide her in that way. Yeah.
But there's somebody else besides me, right?
I know. I know. Exactly that.
I'm so glad you're going through this, because now I really truly know it's not just me.
Exactly.
Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah, it was an experience.
So is that so then you guys get on this same page, finally get on this same page spiritually, and Aimee quits her job, right? Dan, did you do that before her, or you guys did it together and start working towards?
Aimee was actually already self-employed. I was still working as a chef for maybe like 1 year of our relationship, and then we decided that it's better for me to just leave, because it's not the best job. Well, it's itself job pay-wise is great, but it's not costing me my health. It's costing me I never see daylight. Like when I left the job, my eyes were so sensitive to the actual light, because I spent so much light with artificial lighting that when I go outside, I had to have sunglasses on like any time of the day. This is how bad it was.
Yeah. But going back to your question, sorry, I was already self-employed and then met Dan. He had a year of working still as a chef, and then he saw how sort of free I was time-wise, like doing work when I wanted to, and then creating businesses, creating my own businesses, my own workflow.
Yeah, and so we decided together that I should just quit, and then we started doing things together, and it's been amazing ever since.
Did that have a lot to do with health things? What was it? I noticed on your page you say health and freedom. How do you intertwine? How is that intertwined for you?
Health and the freedom. It's a good question, actually, because health, we're very passionate about health, about a good way of living, about a good way of eating, drinking amazing water, and freedom. We're definitely very passionate about freedom, because this is one of the things, because it was quite a contrast when Aimee was self-employed and I was working full-time. We would never get to, I would work from like 9 to 9, so from 9 in the morning to 9 in the evening.
Sometimes much later.
Sometimes it's usually much later. And I would come back home and I'd be tired. I didn't want to do anything. I just want to go to sleep. And it would be like that a lot. And we hardly like got to see each other. And when I had a day off, I just wanted to rest because I was so tired from the week I had. And realized it's not a great way for a couple to be.
Yeah.
And this is where Aimee was like, you should quit this job. I was so frightened to quit the job, you know, because you don't realize how much you become like a full-on, because of wage is like a drug that your employer gives you to keep you there. And there's always a limit as well on that, because like once you get to the certain level, there's just a limit on how much income you can have. Yeah. And this is where I thought, maybe it's time to create something for ourselves, even if it's a little bit less at the time, but eventually we'll get there, you know.
Definitely. But yeah, I think going back to what you specifically said about like health and freedom, but health and freedom literally, it just intertwines, and it works so just without it. To be fully healthy, I think you have to be able to have full control over your body and your time, because there were so many times, especially me as a woman, like times where I'll be on my cycle, my menstrual cycle, be exhausted, but then have to feel like I have to go into work because I'm contracted to, and things like this. And I think with our awakenings, we really woke up to the fact that our health is our true wealth, and to be able to honor ourselves at every single moment, especially because we were going through a spiritual awakening, which involved a lot of crying, a lot of inner work, a lot of releasing our traumas, a lot of working through our inner child pains. I couldn't do that with a manager over me. So in order to help my health and my ascension, I needed to free myself from that and go down my own path and create my own income streams, so that I had full control over my health. And I wanted that for Dan as well, so that's when I inspired him to. She
very much inspired me
to go down the path with me.
Exactly.
and started diving into the quality water, Kagan, and did I pronounce that correct?
Yes.
Yeah.
Right. And also, do you grow your own? Do you have your own garden?
We used to, actually. We used to have our own allotment, and we used to grow vegetables. But because as of recently, we were thinking we actually might be going traveling, and this is why we had to give it away for now to somebody else to use it, because it was. I felt like it was unfair to the land for it not to be used. So we kind of handed it over to somebody else for now.
Yeah, so they're nurturing the land for now.
But it was amazing. We had an experience of growing vegetables for like 2 years. Yeah. It was great to learn all that, you know, so we can pass it on to our kids, next generation. You
know? Definitely.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. So I also, and I try to do my when I'm looking at your pages and your posts and the posts coming through, especially the posts that really excite me, then I go back and I go, okay, what more do they have? It have something about, now I don't know if I'm going to pronounce this right, but it has to do with dance, and of course that interests me because all my life. So you call it ecstatic dance?
Yes.
Yes. Yeah.
Share with us that, if you could.
Did you say to share more
Yes,
with you?
yes.
Yeah.
Would you like to go? 'Cause
Yeah, I'll
sure.
go for it. So yeah, dance has been something I've always been super passionate about, especially from a young age. I danced from like 4 to 16.
Mm-hmm.
And long story short, I kind of fell out of touch with my love for dance. Yeah, sort of 16, you know, teenage years. And then kind of went down the party scene.
Rave scene.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then when Dan and I went, sober, so we stopped drinking and stopped doing like hardcore party drugs.
It was never that hardcore.
It was never that hardcore. But when we decided to stop doing that, when we got together, I was kind of like missing that like dance, that like release that you get from, you know, dancing at a club or whatever it was when we were younger. And we came across ecstatic dance at a festival that we were at, and it was a really lovely, really small, intimate festival. And there was this lovely lady doing ecstatic dance, and she is a DJ, so she makes like the music, the mix in front of you, and you all have headphones, so it's very immersive and very inward experience. You've got the music like going into your ears, so it's like very inward, but you're also dancing in community. It's so beautiful. And yeah, I just remember having this feeling of just feeling so free and like in my inner child again, and able to express myself, but in a sober environment this time. And actually that lovely lady who was doing that dance ended up becoming like our best friend. So so we're very close to her now. And yeah, we recently collaborated and brought an ecstatic dance event here to our hometown in the UK, with her holding the space and facilitating. And yeah, it's all about just being able to express yourself in a safe environment, but in a sober environment as well, and you're able to like scream if you want to scream, cry if you wish to cry. And it's all about just releasing and movement, and it's just amazing. Yeah, we really love it.
It's so beautiful, because a lot of people miss to have them, because a lot of people, especially like our age, a lot of them went for a party scene as well.
Yeah.
But at the moment they want to go into a dance scene where there's no alcohol, there's no drugs, and it's like a judge-free environment where everybody could be whatever they want to be.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think it's very beautiful. Yeah.
So yeah, I highly recommend it. If anyone's feeling like they just want a bit of community or just want that safe space to release, have a look for ecstatic dance. I can guarantee you there's probably somewhere quite near to your hometown.
Definitely. And it usually begins with a cacao ceremony.
Yeah.
Have you ever heard of a cacao ceremony?
Okay.
Yeah, and basically it's what's the cacao called? The quality of it? Ceremonial, yeah. The ceremonial grade cacao, you usually brew it the old Mayan way with just a little bit of cayenne pepper and water. And it all gets shared around, so we would all drink cacao together. And cacao is a massive heart opener, so when you have it before a dance, it lets you express more, you fully go into yourself. And it's almost like a little bit of release as well.
Yeah, so if no one knows, cacao is like chocolate, but in its rawest, purest form.
Yes.
So you know that feeling you have a bit of chocolate and you feel good. That's why it's like it is. Yeah, it just opens your heart, and yeah, I definitely love chocolate and cacao.
But understand, guys, I believe cacao is dark chocolate. It's not milk chocolate.
No.
Yeah, so it's its rawest form. It's literally from the like cocoa bean, and then just goes through the process.
Yeah, so cocoa bean is what actual chocolate is made of before it got refined into like sugary chocolatey stuff. So this is like the rawest and most natural form of cacao you can get, and it's so healthy as well, so good for you.
Right. Yeah. Right. Oh, this is so wonderful. I'm enjoying myself. Okay. So my next question, either it's for both of you together,
That's true,
or separately. Your since you've moved through your spirituality and you've opened up your spirituality and you've been open, or you've been awakened to your soul's calling, your soul's purpose, and how you're moving through this life, let's put it this way, earth school, right?
Mm-hmm.
What do you have you noticed if your passions are together or separate, or they merge to the calling? And I'm asking, well, Source is asking me this because you're my first couple.
Mm-hmm.
I actually asked that question. Is there a merging of your souls in your purpose and your growth to serving others? Wow, that question, that was, whoa, thank you, Source. Okay.
That's a good question.
Right?
Yeah, I've got so much energy, just like, yeah, I definitely feel like our passions are very much aligned.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And to be honest, we've been trying to our source, or connect with source, and really get clear on what that passion is.
Mm-hmm.
And we're both such loving and giving people, and we've always been in our lives, and I feel like our awakenings and our stories are so powerful, so potent, and even just sharing our stories and using this online realm to really just inspire people and to know that they're not alone, and
exactly,
just sharing our stories and our experiences and what we've learned is something we're extremely passionate about.
Mm-hmm.
And also I feel like we're more going into possibly just sharing more about couples that are in union and how to create a healthier and more harmonious home together, which I think is extremely important. Do you feel like
100% agree, because we just realized that what we've created here to us is just so normal. But then when people like, or other couples, or like even my parents sometimes ask me like, do you and Aimee ever argue or anything like this? Like, no, we don't really have arguments ever about anything. And you're like, oh my god, how is that possible? Yeah. I just realized that we created this union with Aimee that it's not very usual to what you see. So I feel like this is almost like this new relationships, you know. I feel like we want to guide a lot more couples to be on that level, to be open with each other, to have no secrets between each other, and just be open.
Just express yourself, express what's on your heart, but in a loving way.
Yeah, and exactly.
We've gone through a lot of healing together, and just releasing that control that you see a lot in relationships, and just accepting one another for who we are and the processes we're going through. And yeah, I feel like this is very much on our path, but we're just at the start of it.
Yeah,
I feel like God, Source, Universe is very much saying,
I feel like we want to help couples, but also we don't want to limit ourselves to couples. We want to help people, guide them on their awakening, because I feel like it's definitely one of my missions for sure. That because I've been always asking like, what's my purpose? There's so many things I want to do, or what's like my actual thing? And I feel like it's definitely, I want to be able to help people know that they've not gone crazy, and then everything's going to be alright. You are waking up, and it's okay. Things might be a little bit rough in the beginning, but it all plays out.
Yeah, I love to get to a person before, I don't know, before, and I'll just put it this way, anybody can put whatever words they want to it. I would like to get to a person while they're beginning their awakening before a psychiatrist or a psychologist. Right. So my purpose for Soul Conversations with Sandra, that's why this I create. Also, Soul Conversations with Sandra is a subsidiary of that, because I think the conversations have to be people have to will begin to understand that it's okay to have a conversation at the soul level. Is, but at the soul level, it's okay to be you, and it's okay to not really understand what your awakening process is, but to let them know you're not crazy. It's
Exactly.
Yeah.
I totally
That's
agree
been
with
coming
you.
to me a lot as well, and I feel that's part of my responsibility here is to,
Because once people get to this state, they think that the doctors and tablets and pills are going to help them, and they end up numbing themselves on antidepressants, anti-anxiety medicine. But you actually need to go through all this to clear yourself out of it. And this is what I feel like medicine, they rubber chuck tablets at you before they hear you out. This is why I feel like it should go back to the times where we had elders, where you could go speak to them, you know. They already went through this, and they can just guide you in the same journey instead of going to the doctor who's gonna. They don't want to. They don't want to hear your story. They just want to. They just want to make money out of you. They want to make another subscription out of you, basically.
for sure.
Yeah.
And sorry.
Yeah. Don't anybody get it twisted. We're not telling you to stop going to your doctors or anything.
Of course, of course.
Yeah, of course. We're not doctors. Yeah.
All right. I'm glad that there are most doctors and most psychiatrists and psychologists want to truly help people. They do. Just because the pharmaceutical companies took it and ran with it in another different direction doesn't mean that we're saying doctors aren't worthy. It's just when you get to that point where a doctor can't do much for you anymore, then sometimes you need to find somebody who's possibly been there and could answer another question. I truly believe that a lot of people are having this awakening experiences, so that there will be more elders that people can connect with, you know. So I mean, I truly believe. I'm going to tell you something right now. I don't know if anybody else has noticed it. You guys, when you're talking, just when Dan's talking, Aimee will say, okay, and you'll do the same thing for her. That's so vibrationally in sync. And I think Lindsay said, your sexual energy together is lovely. It's perfect how it should be. Now, we can take the word sexual and we can make it about sex, but I don't think she meant it that way. I believe she meant creative energy. That's what sex is. It's about creating a atmosphere, right? So has anybody else ever noticed that about you and brought that up? When you're almost like sentences.
Sorry, brought what up? Our sexual energy, or what you mentioned before?
About actually the humming vibration of you being in total sync with what each other is saying. I don't know. I cannot put a label on it. Lindsay put a label on it as creative, as sexual energy, but I can't put a label on it because what's there is so in sync, so vibrant in sync.
Yes, definitely.
Didn't notice it, and it's only me. Okay, maybe I do need to go see a psychiatrist because I saw it and I felt it. Do you know what I mean?
100% know what you mean, because actually we've been getting a lot of this recently. Like whoever comes in our house, they're like, they're so flabbergasted by the energy we created here. Anytime anybody comes into our house, they're like, oh my god, this is the nicest, like,
most peaceful
they've ever been. And whenever we have clients over, they say, oh my god, this is the most relaxing. And yeah, I think like we definitely create such energy that we don't actually comprehend ourselves. But to anybody who comes in from somewhere else, I'm like, oh my god. People just say how, I know, it's almost, I'm always trying to like big ourselves up, but it's just how we are. We created this amazing thing.
Okay, maybe that's what is it? I can feel it on the screen. Yeah, I'm Lindsay. I can feel it. It's just I'm all the way in California, in the U.S. It is 12:23 p.m. right, and I feel your energy. All right, and I'm going.
Thanks so much.
I think we had 2 YouTubes that we spoke on, Aimee, and I could just feel your energy. I could feel it's not even about a sincereness. It's about just your energy, your soul-filled spirit energy, you know. See? There it is.
Feel the vibration.
Right? So let's talk before we get off. We've got a couple of more minutes.
Yeah.
I think this might take more than a couple of more minutes. Let's talk about energy of intention, because I've seen a couple of videos where you talk about intention.
Yes.
Where do you guys, how do you guys, I heard you mention that you have clients. Do you take the intention of everything that no. I'm gonna let source. I'm gonna let source just keep buzzing in my ear right now. The intention that you guys carry, do you serve it out? That's how source wants me to say it, but it's do you there's the intention that resonates through you and Dan. Is there a plan in how you service your community, and do you have a specific intention that you are using? Well, it's time to get so, you know. Wow. It all goes back to service to community, and it's your intention field. You've got so much energy coming through you, and I remember Dan saying, "What is my calling? What is it?" There's so many downloads that you're giving me. What is it? Have you guys kind of figured that out? Have you taken that energy and just kind of shaped it and molded and then thrown it out there, or is it still a work in progress?
I think it's still definitely work in progress, but
yeah,
I feel like we're coming to a big reveal of what is our full purpose, because I feel like personally for me, I feel like my throat chakra has been suppressed for many years, and I feel like I'm only now starting to speak out about my experiences and stuff like this. And I feel like I've got something to do with my voice. I feel like I'm going to be using my voice in a way of helping and healing and talking to people. I think like it's definitely one of my things. And whenever I speak to anybody who's highly connected, they all go back to the thing that you got to do something with your voice. So I think if it's speaking, if it's singing, if it's sound healing, I'm not sure yet, but I'm sure we'll figure it out soon.
Definitely.
Yeah.
For sure. And we haven't really touched on it much, but I feel we are very much here to work with the element of water. And water's come into our lives a lot within the last few years, and really deeply going into quality of water. And honestly, I feel like we're on the cusp of a great awakening around quality of water. And I honestly feel like this is going to be the next shift that humanity are going to see. So we're going much deeper into that, and if anyone wishes to connect with us more, feel free to give us a follow. We won't touch too deep on that now, but I definitely feel like this has helped with you know, our ascension, our healing process, and our overall health. And I've had radical health shifts in my own body, which I can touch more on if anyone's curious. Feel free to give us a message. But we definitely feel like we're here to be a voice for water. And exactly like Dan said, a voice. Like, I feel like I am a voice for water. I just feel like I'm still working through that trauma on my throat. But when we're working through that, we'll be more and more a voice for water. And a voice for source, a voice for God.
Exactly. I feel like there's big awakening happening at the moment. I feel like a lot of people realize how we've been disconnected from the water. Like, we are mainly water. Everything runs in water. There's no life without water.
Exactly.
And I feel like people are starting to realize it more and more. Thank you for the follow.
Thank you so much.
Yes. Yes. Water holds memory.
Yes.
So, and
yes.
Water is, you know, not only does water heal you, you know, water is living.
Yes. The living being.
It certainly is. And I feel, there's a lot of mystery, and we're going deeper into it and waking up to it a lot.
Absolutely. We're still drinking the same water that our ancestors have been drinking. It's always been around. It always will be.
Oh, yeah.
It's indestructible. Amazing.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you. One more question.
Yeah.
That I wanted to ask while we were on the part of the awakening. Did you find your egoic mind trying to keep you from your parts of your awakening? And how did you, in a brief 1 or 2 sentences, how did you handle that?
That's a really good question, actually. I've always my ego always tried to bring me back into, make me believe myself that I'm crazy. It's like, no, you're still crazy. Even after this year, every now and then I'm like, have I gone crazy? Do you know what I mean? And my ego always tries to pull me back into like old destructive patterns I had. And I feel like the only way you can withstand your ego is self-discipline. You have to be strong with yourself. The only enemy you have is there is you.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so I feel like self-discipline for me. What about you?
For me, it's just just be present and slow and intentional, because there's always signs. And when we're always like rushing around and feeling rushed, we can sometimes not see the signs, and those little messages and synchronicities that you are very much on the path.
Yeah.
Every single one of us is exactly where we're meant to be at this precise moment. Whoever is watching this live, you are here for a reason. Dan and I are here right now. Sandra's here right now for this very reason. And just remembering that we are all on the path and everything's happening in divine timing, and just learning to trust and surrender to that.
Well said.
So much. Divine timing. Everything in the right time at the right moment, and then you're going to take right action, right? Your egoic mind, which makes you want to react instead of, you know, just taking that moment, taking that beat, and just going, okay, well, who am I right now in this moment? Who do I want to be right now in this moment? And as soon as you say, who am I, or am I aware, you know, your ego has got to take a back seat. It's got to go background.
Yeah.
It's got to be that moment where you just take a moment, take a breath, you know, and take a pause. But however we call it, or whatever we call it, we've got to be in that now moment that says, no, I'm not crazy. I'm just feeling more of my. I'm just feeling more of the authentic me. But this is, if somebody walks up to you and says you're crazy, and then you look at them and go, well, this is my authentic me. I accept that. Thank you very much. You know.
Exactly that.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. Right? Because it probably is going to look that way to somebody who's not going through whatever our awakening process is. And the process is your whole life. I got to the point where I finally understood it. It's not that I just wake up and boom, it's all done. Every trigger in me is all fixed. I don't have to do any more deep diving. I don't have to do any more, you know, shadow walking. You know, sources fix me. Hallelujah. No, it's a right. It's a it's truly a diamond in the rough, and I love becoming that diamond, that process.
That's so beautifully said.
It's a process.
You know what? May I invite you back, because there's just so much more that we can talk about in the next. We'll work something out. I know I don't have any dates before me, but I definitely will contact you, because I think there's a lot more that, you know.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Right. So.
That was a social level.
Oh, Nigel says two souls melded. Yes, that's what, you know, kind of wondering if that's I get mixed up soul, what do you call it? Soul, I'm trying to think what they call it to your
soulmate.
Yes, soulmate, and then there's another one, soul. Pardon?
Is it? Are you talking about twin flame?
Yeah, soulmate, and then twin flames. Do you think that you're something like that? I think twin or a karmic thing. Do you think you're mated or?
We're definitely soulmates, like divine union
100%,
partners.
yeah.
Okay.
We're either one of those.
It's
yeah.
It's mainly every day the work, but I wouldn't change anything. No, I wouldn't change anything either. Lindsay said, ending souls. Well, you know what I've always thought, and I will probably always think this. I think our souls came to this earth school to play. They came to play on these costumes, our little, I hate the word meat suit, but you know, these costumes, and we as human beings made it about work. We took ourselves seriously, and we don't laugh at ourselves anymore. But when the souls get together, I definitely think that it's the diamond in the rough, and we're laughing at each other, becoming this finding out that we're formless, that we take too seriously our body, and we don't go.
I know, exactly. And this kind of brought me back to the moment when I had during my trip. It just showed me how universe is just full of comedy, and how you do this comedy to yourself. Like, you've chose to do all this. And then you get mad about the silliest thing. And then I remember just laughing so much at myself, especially because it's just funny. The universe is funny. How it gets you to the point you're like, I told you.
Yeah. The day, even before, as I was getting ready for the podcast, I did my my reading in the morning that I usually do, and I did that, and then I took time to get my lunch and everything. And as I was going through that process, I was walking in a deja vu, and I was laughing at myself, because I just went, you know what, I've been here, done this before.
I know.
Got up with this plate before in exactly this way, looking at exactly these things, getting ready for exactly. And I had to laugh at it, because it's like, did I do it on a different timeline? And it was like, Sandra, yeah, you did. Isn't that like crazy hilarious that you're actually, and instead of being confused about it, or saying, oh, I'm having like this crazy moment, am I having a senior moment, right? Because I'm in the 60s, and program says, well, you're in your 60s, you're getting in your 60s and 70s, and you're gonna have moments, right? And I just had like, no, I'm not having a senior moment, I'm having a deja vu, and it feels really fucking good, that
I know, I kind of like it now.
Right?
I know. I quite often sit there like, I've done this all before. Why? What's the meaning of this?
The meaning of, the whole thing is, for me, it's kind of going, oh, Sandra, you can move through timelines. If you tell anyone, they're gonna laugh you under the pavement, right? But no, it feels really good to actually acknowledge that out loud, and then kind of just laugh, not laughing at myself like ha 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 ha, but kind of just having a little snicker going, I know something they don't, kind of thing.
Exactly that.
Yeah,
Exactly that. Yeah.
Amazing.
Hate the word, but no other way to explain it. Okay, yeah. The Matrix, you know what? I will have to say, Lindsay, I'm glad you brought that word up, because it's just the word. It's a spelling. It's a spelling of the word that we were taught to spell and we use. And depending on how we use the word matrix, we can either have a positive spelling on ourselves, or it could be a negative one.
Exactly.
Right? Right.
Because
The matrix, because everybody's like saying, hey, let's break out of the matrix. Well, if source created the matrix, why would you want to break out of it? Why don't you just in it, right? That break out of it. That's your ego saying, I don't want any part of the consciousness. I want to be alone. I want to keep you alone. So break out of the matrix. Nah, start designing something within the matrix that's totally you, right?
Yeah, exactly. And exactly, all words are the meanings that we give to ourselves. Like the language, just think about it. We're speaking these words, but once upon a time, somebody agreed that what I'm speaking right now means something, and it sounds go into your ear and you understand it. You know what I mean? This is just bizarre.
Yeah, it totally is. That's so true. Yeah, so true. Well, you know what? I do have to go because I have 2 fur babies that have been really wonderful, but now they're moving around and saying, hey, okay, we need to go outside and walk. We need some air and we need some litter. So I must.
Thank you so much for having us. It was an absolute honor.
Oh
yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
We'd love to do this again sometime.
Okay, would you please give everyone information on how they can contact you?
Yeah, absolutely. Probably the best place is Instagram, so you can find us at sacred.streams. You can probably see how to connect with us here. I'm not too sure. We haven't done too many lives before.
Yeah, and feel free to message us with whatever questions you have. We're quite welcome.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. We're open books, so happy to connect with you.
Okay, thank you. Thank you so much for being part of my family. So first of all, I am so glad that you are part of my family, and I am thankful and grateful for your love, for your attention to come on here and share you with others.
Thank you so much.
Great. So I thank you very much, and we will talk so that we can do a continuation of this. Lots of love.
Lots of love.
And Source is buzzing in my ear, so Source wants me to give you some light language. Is that yes?
Sure, absolutely.
Please, yeah.
Nakushi no tohuna miotushishina kunaim shino tokunaim esho sono toku o se seotu shena taki meotuna na unna here ha te ha na kai shina taim mo shi na ki esho tokunai Yeshina. Io sono tokuan. Meshi shino to o. Besho. Heart, love, joy, peace. Ashe. Thank you for joining me.
Thank you so much.
So We leave you with this: love, peace, unconditional joy, wisdom and understanding be yours. All those that in with their energy extended, thank you. Take it back with you. Become wisdom and understanding. Become love and joy. Ask yourself, is this a thought that I am having? Is this a thought that I want to create from? If it is, then go be here. Go be those divine creators that you're meant to be. Stand upon the edge of creation and create, create, and create. Thank you.
Thank you.
Blessings.
Blessings. So much love. Thank you, everyone.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.